Hello, this is Mark Brandon, CEO and co-founder of Qbox. And in this video, we're going to walk through some of the improvements of next-gen Qbox released in 2021. Now, this is a major release that ships with many new features and improvements for user experience, cluster management, cluster security, role-based access control, which we'll refer to as RBAC, and more. So let's talk about some of the new features available via the next-gen Qbox dashboard. First, make sure that you select next-gen login because not all of these features are going to be available from the legacy login. The improved UI is the heart and soul of our improvements. You can see that the home dashboard is much more informative. You have cards for each cluster, each of which has some ready metrics, including the endpoint, some RAM and CPU usage metrics, the version, the cluster, the status, and the price per month. Up top, you have options for configuring new clusters, account users, and billing. For the purposes of editing or adjusting your cluster, you can select Manage. On this screen, you see some of the same usage metrics, but you also have a tab layout where you can modify your CPU, the number of nodes, the security settings, the backups, and the alerts. Not only is next-gen Qbox provisioning more intuitive, but it comes with defaults for cluster stability and high availability. I'm going to provision a new cluster here and name it Test2. I'll select the version. We support several going back generations, the region, and the availability zones. Multi-AZ default is a huge improvement. For many years, you can run the risk of split brains if your nodes weren't in the same zone, but thankfully, public cloud infrastructure has gotten better at that, and so have we. We'll leave it at 3 zones, since 3 nodes is the minimum for a production-worthy cluster. You'll notice that as you turn these dials here, the other dials will shift along with you. This is because at certain levels, you need a golden ratio of RAM to CPU, and going above that ratio introduces instability into your cluster. Now I'm going to make this a 2 GB RAM cluster with 3 nodes. You'll see that the projected price per month of this cluster moves along too. Also note that the totals reflected here will be equal to the RAM and CPU you selected, multiplied by the number of nodes. Most people want a Kibana dashboard too. We have several plugin options as always, and then we launch. The process of spinning up here could take a few minutes or longer depending on the size of your cluster. This concludes the walkthrough. Our tutorial page has additional sessions on creating your first cluster and accessing the Elasticsearch instance, creating your first index, an RBAC walkthrough, and there will be more over the next days and weeks. Thanks for watching, and mostly, thanks for being a Qbox customer. Again, this is Mark Brandon for Qbox.